Hi, it's Gary. Welcome to today's video. Can you believe it? We're up to heat number 6 of the Fountain Pen tournament. This is the last heat of pens under 100 Aussie dollars. Here's today's pens. Join me now down on the table. We'll take a look at the pens. We'll do some size comparisons, some weights and measures, writing samples. I'll give you some of my thoughts, then hand it over to you to pick the winning pen over on my YouTube community page. So let's jump on down to the table and start looking at the pens. Welcome down to the table for this heat number 6 of my Fountain Pen tournament of late 2024. Today's contenders. We've got the Pilot Metropolitan MR3. We've got the Fountain Pen Revolution Guru. And we've got the Monteverde Ritma. 3 pens, each of them in a different price range. So it's going to be interesting to see how they compare against each other. Let's start by taking a walk through the bodies. As in previous heats, not going to focus on walking through each body, just going to really look at what the difference is and what are any similarities. We'll start with the size. I know we'll do size comparisons in a bit. The Ritma and the Metropolitan, both longer than that Guru. The Guru and the Metropolitan, to me, look very, very similar in shape. They're both like that torpedo type shape. Whereas with the Ritma, that's more, to me, it looks more industrial. It's like it's been formed from a solid rod. Now, I know it's not, but it just looks like that to me. Let's take the caps off each of these. So the cap comes off the Metropolitan by pulling off. With the Guru, half, 1, 1.5. So 1.5 turns, that's not bad, is it? And then with the Ritma, it pulls off. This is a magnetic cap. Let me just pop this back on. Hopefully you can see this working. I'm just going to slowly tap it. And then eventually the magnet catches and pulls it the rest of the way down. So each pen has a different cap. We've got pull off, we've got magnetic, and we've got screw off. With a Metropolitan, let's take the body off, converter there. That's not the converter that came with it. I just didn't get on with that converter. It's one of them squeeze ones, whereas I prefer the Con 40. With the Guru, piston filling pen with an ink window. Just look at that. And with the Ritma, again, it's a cartridge converter. There's a converter that came with it. Very squeaky putting this line off. Let's pop these next to each other. Line the nibs up. There we go. And let's take a look at the nibs. So with the Metropolitan, small nib, very plain really in terms of what's on it. We've got a nice decorative border. Sorry about that, I've just kicked the camera. Below the breather hole, we've got Pilot. Then we've got F, this is a fine nib. And then below that, we've got Japan. With the Guru, to be honest, it's very, very similar. So it's a steel nib, not a big nib. Looks to be a little bit smaller than what we're seeing with the Metropolitan. We've got a nice decorative border. Underneath the breather hole, we've got FPR. And that's it really. So I say nice and simple. Finally, with the Ritma. So it's a steel nib. It's coated in a nice black finish, which really offsets the rest of the pen. Again, we've got a little bit of a decorative border. Underneath the breather hole, we've got a logo. Then the bottom we've got B. This is a broad nib. This is a Yoho nib. Really nice. All 3 of them, nice, simple looking nibs. The Ritma though, that's got a number 6 nib. Whereas the other 2, as I've already said, I've got smaller nibs. Let's swap on over and do some size comparisons. Seeing as I already had the caps off, we might as well start uncapped. So here we can see the Ritma, very similar in shape to the Pilot Metropolitan. I've brought in my standard comparison of the Lamy Safari. I normally fetch in the Metropolitan as a standard, so I can't really do that today. The Guru though, an awful lot shorter. In the hand, we'll start with the Metropolitan. That to me feels nice and posted. The section feels a bit thin. You can post it. Posts quite nicely. With the Guru here then, nice, just about usable, unposted. Again, posts quite nicely. With the Ritma, heavier pen, lovely wide section, but because it's metal, I do feel like my fingers slip a bit on it. Again, it does post. It uses that same magnetic mechanism, so I'm just going to tap it slowly, and there it goes. Posts really well, feels very long when it's posted, but unposted feels quite nice. Let's swap over and pop the caps on. With the caps on, the Guru definitely the shorter of the three. The Ritma and the Metropolitan look very roughly the same in terms of length, and they're both very similar to the length of that Safari. Let's swap on over and fetch in the rule of measuring. Here we've got the rule of measuring. We'll start with the Metropolitan. So, length of the total pen, 13.9 centimetres. Unposted. If I can stop it from rolling, I'll just pop the cap behind it. 12.5 centimetres. And posted, 15.3 centimetres. The width of the body, that comes in at 1.3. The width of the cap at its widest, again 1.3. The section goes from 0.85 up to 1.05. So a thin pen and, yeah, in the middle in terms of length. The Guru, the full pen, 12.9 centimetres. Although it does look a little bit longer here, but I do measure these with digital calipers. Here it looks like 13.2. I'll have to get them calipers out and remeasure this. Let's pop that cap on again just to stop it rolling. So unposted 11.6 and posted, that comes in about 15 centimetres. The width of the body, that comes in at 1.23 centimetres. The cap, 1.31. The section goes from 0.9 up to 1.6 centimetres. You can see here with the ink window. And finally, the Ritma. So the full length, that's 13.7 centimetres. Unposted. Again, let me pop the cap behind it to stop it from rolling. Here we're looking about 12.8 centimetres. And then posted. This now comes in at 16.1 centimetres. The width of the body, that comes in at 1.3. The cap, also 1.3. The section, it's the same width all the way up, and it's 1.2 centimetres. Let's get this out of the way and fetch in the scales of weighing. Once again, we'll start with the Metropolitan. Full pen, 27 grams, not too bad. Not light, not heavy. Pen itself, 18 grams, and then 10 grams there on the cap. With the Guru, does feel lighter in the hand. Also weighs lighter, 14 grams. The body alone, 9 grams, and the cap, 5 grams. With the Ritma, 49 grams, quite a heavy pen. Body, whoops, and stop it rolling, 33 grams. The cap, 16 grams. The cap weighs more than the Guru, and the body, that weighs more than the Metropolitan. Let's move this out of the way and we'll fetch in the notepad of testing. Just dropping in to interrupt your regular programming. Would you like to help support the channel? If so, please consider joining as a member. As a member, you'll get early access to my videos. I normally upload them a couple of days before they go out, and as soon as they're uploaded, they'll be released to members. There'll also be a shout out at the end of the videos, and then as we get the members coming in, we'll actually chat among ourselves and work out what other perks, what other things you'd like me to add in. You know, would you like maybe a monthly live chat just for members? All down to us. So please, if you can, consider joining the channel. A link will be in the description down below. Here we've got the notepad of testing. This is 62 GSM Tomoe River paper in an endless recorder notebook. I'm going to write slightly on an angle. I'm finding I'm getting my writing looks a lot better when we've got it slightly on an angle. So we start with the Pilot Metropolitan. So we've got Pilot Metropolitan with a fine nib. Now this is a very thin line. I expect that. It's a fine nib. It's from Japan. They do tend to be quite fine. The price for this pen is approximately 50 Aussie dollars. The ink is by Diamine and it's a Red Robin. Now I'm going to have to go over here. I didn't leave enough room for my WASCII squirrel grid, so let's do it here. Hopefully we don't need too many lines for the drying times. So filling it up and down. As you see, very, very fine line, taking ages to fill this up. Diagonal. Grid, and then diagonals. Drying times, immediate, 10 seconds. Nearly dry there. I'm just going to do 30 seconds for belt and braces. There we go, that's now nice and dry. So that's the Metropolitan. Up next we've got the Guru. Now I'm going to carefully take this cap off because before I start writing I want to show you here. From the bottom of the body down to the bottom of where the threads are for putting the cap on, that's actually an ink window. It's quite hard to see it because it's a fairly dark looking ink when it's flowing around. But there, yeah, we've got a nice ink window. So we've got here a Fountain Pen Revolution. I'm just going to put FPR. Guru. And this is a medium nib. Price for this pen is approximately 16 Aussie dollars. This is what I was saying, 16 Aussie dollars. You're getting a piston filler. The ink by Diamine. And it's Silent Night. Love the colour of this ink, very dark. Still our grid. So up and down. As you see, because it's that medium nib and it's not a Japanese medium, it's more of a European medium, filling this grid up a lot faster. Drying times. So we go immediate. Wow, doesn't that look wet? 10 seconds. 30 seconds. I have to go on to the next line. Wow, still going wet there. 1 minute. After a minute, we're still fairly wet. Just going to slightly reposition the page for the next writing sample. So up next, we've got the Monteverde Ritma. So we've got the Monteverde Ritma. Here we've got a broad nib. Price wise, now this is under 100 Aussie dollars list, but when I checked my price just before recording, it's gone up and it's now just over $100. So I'm keeping it in here, 103 Aussie dollars. When I did my selection, which was a random selection, it was still only $97. The ink by Diamine, and it's Mistletoe. Still our WASCII squirrel grid. I've just got enough room to sneak it in here. So a broad nib, as you can see, really filling this quickly. It's good actually that we've got the three nib sizes. We've got a fine, we've got a medium, and we've got a broad today. Drying times. So here's immediate. 10 seconds. 30 seconds. I'll go on the line below again. Still slightly wet there. Let's go for the 1 minute. After a minute, yeah, that's now nice and dry. Teeniest, tiniest little bit of a smudge. I do like the colour of this Ritma. This is called Olive. It was a 2021 limited edition. Very nice. I love this green. I like my green pens though. Just going to move the page up, and then what I'm going to do is write a sentence with each of the pens, and I'll be moving the mic down to the page whilst I do it so you can hear the pens writing. We'll start with the Metropolitan. That's very nice. The nib is very, very stiff. We get a nice whispery type of feedback. The nib is smooth, not glass smooth, but it's still nice and smooth. No catching on the page. It's like it's gliding over the page. Now with the Guru. It feels a little bit softer. It certainly doesn't feel as stiff as the Metropolitan. That Metropolitan, it's more towards like a pencil, where here we're starting to get a little bit of softness in the nib. Sounded very similar to the Metropolitan in how it was writing. Because it felt softer, it felt there was a little bit more of a tactileness to it, a little bit more like it was feeling like it was dragging over the page, which I like. I like tactileness in my pens. I'm getting more of that from this pen than I was from the Metropolitan. But the Metropolitan is that Japanese fine nib, so maybe you expect that. Finally, the Ritma. That's by far the quietest of the three. Still audible and still here, but it's more like it's whispering to me. And there's a little bit of singing underneath it as well. The line is very nice. Got nice tactileness to it. The nib, yeah, it's a bit stiff. It seems to be halfway between the Metropolitan and the Guru. There's loads of tactileness to the writing. My only big issue, my finger was slipping a little bit here on the section. So what are my thoughts on these pens? Here we've got the three pens, the Metropolitan, the Guru and the Ritma. All three of them, again, like most of my pens, I love them. I love writing with all my pens. I don't use the Metropolitan very often. For me, the line is just too thin. This was the first pen I bought when I got back into fountain pens, so it was there as an experiment. I may get another one, but I'm going to look for a wider nib, and I know there are some other pens slightly more expensive which use the same nib units and there's a wider variety, so I may look at one of those. The Guru, very light. It's almost like it's vanishing into your hand when you're writing with it. Nice line. Could do have been a little bit longer, but yeah, when you're paying 16 Aussie dollars for a pen, who's going to quibble? The Ritma, really heavy pen. You know you're holding it. I actually quite like that. One thing with the Ritma is I've found it doesn't like shimmer or chameleon inks. So I have to just use standard inks in here. If I use a shimmer or chameleon, it blots up the feed and it's a nightmare. Every time you use it, it gets blocked. It keeps stopping and stuttering whilst I'm writing. So I have to go away and either shake it, and quite often I have to prime the feed again. So that's the only downside, but with standard inks, beautiful writer. So these are my quick thoughts on these three pens. Now it's over to you to go and vote on the winning pen. Head on over to my community page. On there, you'll find a poll. select the pen that you want to win. I'll announce the results on my YouTube live on Sunday next week, so you've got just under a week to go and vote. Let's see which one will be winning and going forward into the semi-final. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. What are your thoughts on these pens? Which ones you want to win? Head on over to that YouTube community page, find the poll. Only the votes that are made on the YouTube community page count, so if you put something in the comments, unfortunately that won't count towards the winning pen. So head on over there now. Please hit the thumbs up button every time you like, every time you comment, just helps with the YouTube algorithm. If you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel so that you can get new videos as I release them. I'll talk to you again soon.